The Russian sleep experiment, Room 42, in 1949, in a secret facility buried deep under ice and silence, Russian scientists tried to prove that the human mind could survive without sleep. They succeeded, but what survived wasn't human. 5 political prisoners were offered a deal they couldn't refuse: stay awake for 30 days, and they would be granted their freedom. They were placed together in Room 42, a sealed steel chamber. Inside, they had microphones to monitor them, books for distraction, basic bedding, and a constant, steady supply of an experimental stimulant gas designed to keep them awake. For the first 48 hours, everything seemed normal. The men talked, they joked, they laughed, but there was a nervous energy in the air. By day 3, the conversations took a turn. They grew philosophical, darker, full of paranoia and regret. And then, on day 4, came the silence. Complete, unnerving silence. The scientists watching assumed the subjects had finally fallen asleep, but a quick check of the vital sensors showed something impossible. All 5 were still wide awake. By day 5, their behavior had become truly bizarre. They stopped eating the food provided. They began whispering to the cold, bare walls, their words inaudible. Sometimes, one of them would erupt into laughter at absolutely nothing. Then, on day 7, the screaming started. It wasn't a scream of fear or pain, but of pure, manic pleasure. The microphones picked up a low, rhythmic chanting in Russian. It wasn't just one voice, but all 5, perfectly synchronized. When the scientists used the intercom to ask what they were chanting, a single, clear voice replied, "We are becoming." On day 10, things escalated. One subject tore his mattress apart, pulling out the stuffing to block the microphone view. Another began clawing at the steel floor, digging his fingernails into the unyielding metal until bone scraped against it. When guards tried to intervene over the intercom, the subjects shouted back in unison, their voices frantic, "Do not remove the gas." It was then the scientist had a horrifying realization. The gas wasn't just keeping the men awake, it was keeping something else from waking up completely. On day 15, a directive came straight from Moscow: shut the experiment down immediately. Heavily armed guards prepared to breach Room 42. When the steel doors finally ground open, the scene inside was chilling. The subjects sat perfectly still, their backs ramrod straight, their eyes wide open, unblinking. There were no visible injuries on them, except for one. He had used his own fingernails to carve 2 words into his chest. "Let us stay awake." When a scientist cautiously asked him what he meant, the man simply smiled, a terrifyingly lucid look in his eyes, and said, "We saw what sleeps behind dreams." Under direct orders, the stimulant gas was shut off. For the first time in over 2 weeks, fresh air flooded the chamber. Almost immediately, Subject 3 began to convulse violently, screaming, "Turn it back on or we will die." The others joined in, a chorus of agony, pounding on the walls until their bones cracked and shattered. The scientists tried to administer sedatives, but they had no effect. Subject 2, in a desperate frenzy to stay conscious, tore out his own veins. As his life faded, Subject 1 whispered, his voice a dry rasp, "Sleep is a cage. Wakefulness is the world outside." Panicked, the supervising scientist gave the final order: restore the gas. As the stimulant hissed back into the room, the effect was instantaneous. The subjects froze. Their breathing normalized. Their bleeding stopped, but they did not die. They rose to their feet, all 5 of them, moving with an eerie perfect synchronization. A trembling scientist demanded over the intercom, "What are you?" Subject 1 turned his head slowly, a knowing smile spreading across his face. "We are what woke up first." He leaned towards the one-way mirror, his eyes now black pools of ancient awareness. "And now you will never sleep again." The lights in the chamber cut out. The audio recordings ended. The facility's official log for Room 42 contains only 2 words: sealed permanently. Years later, a lone maintenance worker, exploring the now abandoned facility, stumbles upon a dusty, forgotten box. Inside he finds a camera, 5 leather-bound journals, and a small tarnished gas cylinder. A label on it reads, "Gas batch A42, do not release." The experiment was never about preventing sleep. It was about waking something older than dreaming. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe for more strange and unsettling stories.